name's Fallon from Rose Glow Tea Room, and I am going to be sharing my presentation on CBD cocktails for tea lovers. Okay, so I started Rose Glow Tea Room in 2019 after my mom had suffered an injury. I was making her edibles, and then I decided to research tea and CBD, and that's how I started my company, because after she was drinking my tea and preferred that to her prescription medicine because it didn't have side effects, I thought if it could help her, then it could probably help other people. And as I started to learn more about tea and CBD, I was trying to figure out different ways I could put CBD in my life, and I've come up with some recipes with a bartender friend of mine. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit about tea today, the history of tea and cocktails, and then I have some recipes to share. So what we're going to chat about today, tea, where does it come from, how tea is processed, the different varieties of tea, and the grading system, how to pair tea, and then how to incorporate my tea blends into cocktails. If I'm going too fast, feel free to type something in the chat and I'll try my best to get to it and answer any questions. So I just wanted to start off with a fun fact that all tea comes from the same plant. It is the second most consumed beverage in the world, first being water. Tea can also be used for cleaning floors, dyeing cloth, and soothing your skin. So what is tea? The origin of tea is every bit as fascinating as the drink itself. While many people assume that green, white, black, green, and pure tea and oolong teas come from different plants, they all come from the same plant, Camellia sinensis. So there's 3 different types / varieties of tea. Camellia sinensis. This is grown in colder climates. It's a smaller leaf from China and usually used to make green and white teas. Some black teas and oolong teas are made with this variety. Then we have Camellia sinensis assamica, and this is grown in tropical climates. It is a much bigger leaf native to the Assam region of India. This plant is usually used for black tea and is the preferred crop of Northeast India, Sri Lanka, and Africa. Then there's Camellia sinensis cambodiensis, and this is not used in commercial tea production. So a lot of people don't really talk about it since it's not available worldwide. So there is a difference between teas and tisanes. So all teas come from the Camellia sinensis plant, and a tisane is any infusion that is not from Camellia sinensis. So this would be chamomile tea, yerba mate, and rooibos. So the different tea types also have different steep times and different guideline temperatures. So yellow tea is a type of tea usually saved for royalty. And as you see it, the infusion time, the steep time is only 1 to 2 minutes. But just remember that these brewing times are all guidelines, not have-tos. And I say, why be a tea snob when you can be a tea lover? Tea snobbery is something that has been going on in the tea industry, and it's actually stopping people from wanting to learn more about tea or wanting to experience tea because they're worried they're not at a certain level. But the best cup of tea is the tea you enjoy. It doesn't matter how long you steep it or at what temperature. As long as you enjoy it, it's a good cup of tea and you're brewing it the right way. So the quality of water plays a big part in the taste of tea. So what I use is activated charcoal sticks, and you can get these from Amazon. I even think you can get these from Bed Bath & Beyond. This is just activated charcoal. It's the same thing that would be in a Brita filter, except without the plastic. These last for about 3 months. And the great part about this, if for any plant parents out here, is this can be used to help strengthen plant soil when you're done using it to filter your water. So it's win-win, and you don't have to use the plastic from Brita filters. Tea tastings. So if you are going to do a tea tasting just with friends, the supplies you would want is a kettle with a temperature adjustment, teacups, a flavor wheel, paper and pencil just to write down your initial thoughts about the tasting, of course, tea, and an open mind. So if you are interested in a flavor wheel, you can email info@Roseglow Tea Room and I can email you one. This just identifies some of the scents and smells, like herbaceous smells, vegetal smells, forest floor. We have berry, citrus. So if you're tasting notes that you can't quite identify, a flavor wheel absolutely helps. Because I'm a teacher, I love having my visuals. So when having a tea tasting with your friends, like these are some of the words you can use to describe what you're tasting. Hopefully it's not yucky, but sweet, mild, savory, scrumptious, flavorful, all of these words. And you can just write it down so you know what tea blends that you like for when you want to go out and buy your own tea. Smelling is also a big part of tea. So we have aromatic, fresh, fruity, fragrant. All of these are good words for describing your tea tasting experience. So the picture I have on the slide is a Gung Fu Cha set, and it's a traditional technique for preparing a variety of Chinese teas. And this offers a sniffing cup. It's the thinner cylindrical cup to sense the fragrances, since all of it is part of the tea tasting. Even the holding the warm cup in your hand is part of the whole tea tasting experience. You want to focus on the flavors on the different parts of your tongue. It even helps to hold the tea in your mouth before swallowing, and some people find it easier to concentrate on what they're tasting if they close their eyes. So another fun fact, the L-theanine in tea has a positive effect on relaxation, cognitive performance, emotional status, sleep quality, cancer, cardiovascular disease, obesity, and the common cold. So I love tea and all of its benefits. So pairings, there's a multitude of pairings you can do. If you are pairing tea with food, you can do a tone-to-tone pairing, and that seeks out the similarities between the tea and the food. One example would be pairing an Earl Grey tea with maybe an orange flavoring cookie, because of the bergamot oil and the Earl Grey would match the citrus in like an orange and cardamom cookie. So that would be a tone-to-tone. Contrasting, you're finding harmony in contrasting flavor. So some contrasting flavors would be like a light and delicate tea, maybe like a green tea or a white tea with a spicy Mongolian beef. That would be a contrasting pairing, because like Mongolian beef has very strong flavors and white and green tea have subtle nuances. Another pairing is fusion, like blending two distinct flavors. We see this a lot in cuisine. For example, like Korean tacos, those are like a fusion, and you can do that when pairing tea and food. So tea and cocktails. So there is a history of tea being in cocktails. A lot of the punches from the early 1700s were based with tea. Clean water was scarce, and a lot of times they would use alcohol to clean the water, but then you would have that alcohol flavor. So then to get rid of that alcohol flavor, they would add tea and then add fruits that they had been fermenting. So one of the earliest examples of a tea cocktail, if you will, is a fish house punch. This actually dates back to the 1600s and became more popular in the early 1700s. It was often diluted with tea. It is a recipe of cognac, rum, breakfast tea, like a black tea, lemon juice, and simple syrup. Another early tea cocktail is the milk punch. This dates also back to the early 1700s. This is made with lemons, oranges, pineapple, sugar, green tea. I've seen recipes with black tea as well, whole milk, and Batavia Iraq, which is sugarcane and fermented red rice. English clarified milk punch, like what is pictured, takes time to make, but it is so worth it, and it has such a nice creamy flavor that you wouldn't expect because the liquid is actually very clear. It's all science. You do use milk in this, but the way science works, it's amazing. It comes out almost crystal clear. Another tea-based cocktail is Regents Punch from the same era, with green tea, jelly, champagne, juice, and sugar. A lot of these recipes call for brandy because of the fermented fruits used in the recipes. So facts to remember when making cocktails and tea-infused cocktails: the golden ratio of cocktails: 2 parts spirits, 1 part sour, 1 part sweet. And sometimes you might not know whether to stir or shake your cocktail. So you always want to shake cocktails that have fruit, cream, or egg white. The standard shake is 10 seconds over the shoulder. And then you want to stir cocktails that have just spirit, sugar, bitters, or water. Those can be stirred. So our first cocktail that I'm going to talk about is one that we call Kyoto Trip. This cocktail has sake, my revitalized green tea, ice, soda water, and a cucumber garnish. So in this cocktail, the tea is utilized as a syrup. So you make the green tea syrup and you add that to the sake and then top with soda water. But this can easily be made into a mocktail by just having the soda water, the green tea syrup, and a cucumber garnish. So you can do a lot with this cocktail. It's delicious. And if you have friends that don't drink, or if you don't drink, this also tastes great as a mocktail. So one thing to remember is good ice makes good drinks. So wet ice dilutes the drink before it gets cold. And an example of wet ice would be the ice that is at like the bottom of the cooler when a lot of ice has melted. But ice from your ice tray would be good enough. When you are shaking drinks, you want the ice to emulsify. You want to hear cracks in the ice. And that lets you know that the ice is doing its job. It's chilling the drink, but it's not diluting the drink. So for cocktail number 2, I call this one Garden Party. So this is a cocktail with gin, lemon juice, ice, and my Sunset blend. And the way that the way tea is used in this cocktail is the tea is blended very fine into a blender, and then the glass is rimmed with it. So to do that, you just blend the tea very fine. You can put it on a plate. You dip the rim of your glass in water and then put it on the plate with the blended tea, and you can get a nice little rim around your glass. And that's just another way you can use tea in cocktails. And you can just make this with lemon juice, ice, and soda water, and add a simple syrup if you want to make a mocktail. Another way you can liven up this cocktail is using botanical ice cubes. If you can get edible flowers like nasturtiums and put that in your ice tray. When you put ice in your cocktails, it will make it look very pretty, very botanical. My last cocktail that I'll be talking about is called the Cedar Bird Local, and this uses my Breathe tea blend. This is a rooibos tea, also with hibiscus tea, ice, scotch, and allspice dram. So this is a very easy drink to make. You add everything into a cocktail shaker, you shake it, and you strain over fresh ice. If you were to serve this warm, you could garnish with star anise and orange peel with cloves. Allspice dram is very easy to make yourself. If you'd like a recipe, feel free to email me at info@roseglowtearoom, and I can send you a recipe for allspice dram. It does take a couple days to make, but it's pretty much putting ingredients in a bottle and letting it sit for a little bit. But this is a great cocktail, especially for people who are not sure about scotch, maybe have never tried scotch, but would like to give it a try. In some of the cocktail classes that I've done in the past, this cocktail was the favorite, and a lot of people told me that they really liked the drink, but seeing that it had scotch in it, it's not something that they would ever order from a bar. So if you wanted to have a cocktail party at home, this would be a great cocktail to introduce to friends who maybe wouldn't order a scotch drink at a bar, or maybe haven't explored scotch. I know that sometimes my friends think that we're too young to drink scotch, but then after having this drink, they get really into trying scotch. So when it comes to CBD in cocktails, you want to start low and slow. Everyone's tolerance is different. Everyone reacts to alcohol differently. So when I was trying to figure out a way to explain CBD in cocktails, and after doing some research, I found this great quote. CBD taken medically or recreationally follows the same rule as every other food drink item. Excess is bad. Keeping that in mind, CBD-infused drinks have their own pros and cons, and one should be vigilant while indulging them. While the benefits outweigh the negatives in most cases, it's always better to keep a tab on our consumption patterns. And like many people say, when you are taking CBD, your dose is particular to you. So it might be great to have a journal to track your dosage and how that makes you feel, and keep that in mind when you are making CBD cocktails. Keep in mind the dosage of CBD and how much you're drinking. So thank you so much. I'll be around for questions. My website is roseglowtearoom.com. All my socials are at Roseglow Tea Room, and I am going to be having some future events with Cannabis Cooking Magazine. We are going to do a cha-cha chai event, which I'm really excited about. This event will include making a chai with my rooibos blend and making a tea kettle out of a sugar pumpkin. Okay, does anyone have any questions? I'm going to try my best to answer everything. I didn't think I would go through it as fast as I did. But yes, if you want any of the visuals, I can email them to you. Even if it's this visual, or the flavor wheel, I have no problem emailing those. I can't give out all the information in the my cocktail recipe because I'm actually coming out with a book, Cocktails for Tea Lovers, and the publisher was very specific about me not giving out the recipes because I would totally give out every recipe if I could, but at the moment I just can't. So hopefully that book will be coming out in 2022, and everyone will be able to make their own um, tea cocktails at home. If you are interested in learning more about tea, I do recommend this tea book, Tea Sommelier. It will give you a great knowledge, a great background about tea, and it will also give you some ideas for pairings as well. It's a great book, especially if you're just starting out in tea or if you're just curious about tea. This has a wealth of good stuff. As you can see, I've tabbed it up. It's something that I always refer to, especially before I give a class or if I'm trying to come up with a new pairing or I just need some inspiration. This book helps out a lot. So if anyone has any questions, please let me know. And feel free to email me any questions at info@roseglowtearoom.com. My 3 varieties of tea are Rooibos, Sunset, Breathe, which is a Rooibos tea, Sunset, which is a Sage Chung Oolong tea, and Revitalize, which is my green tea. So I do have a couple examples right here. So this is my Sunset tea. This is a Sage Chung Oolong. This is blended with lavender and honey. I call it Sunset because of the sedative effects of lavender. And here is my Revitalized tea. This is blended with coconut and pineapple. And it's a very good afternoon slump tea. If you have the afternoon slumps, this is a great tea for picking you back up. I also have a bath tea. It doesn't have CBD in it, but this is good for like a foot spa or a bath. I call it mermaid water. It has Thai pea flower tea, which turns the water blue. It won't stain your tub. I tried it on 3 different tubs, but this is also very good for your skin. It softens your skin and it smells really nice as well. So if you're interested, please visit my website. And if you have any questions about tea or tea pairings, feel free to email me that as well. And if you want any of my visuals to use in your own tea tastings at home, I can help you with that as well. So thank you so much for joining. My book, Cocktails for Tea Lovers, should be coming out sometime next year. My tea is available on my website. It's also available at Steadfast Supply in DC, Femme Fatale in Washington, DC, and Shop Made in DC. Also Fleur de Lune Apothecary in Boyle Heights, Los Angeles, and Tea at 1024 in Honolulu, Hawaii. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, everyone that came to listen. I know there were other great sessions going on at the same time, but I'm just grateful for everyone that stopped by to learn a little bit about tea.